I never imagined that my first day as an intern would lead to a millionaire's wardrobe disaster. I will never forget the way my heart raced as I walked through that luxurious office. Huge glass windows gleamed in the January sun, golden rays hitting marble floors. Everything seemed untouchable, lavish, unreal. I could smell the expensive cologne lingering in the air, mixed with the faintest scent of fresh coffee. I felt small, even in my crisp white shirt and tailored slacks, overwhelmed by the chaos around me. Then I met her, Marie. She was striking, with her perfectly styled hair and designer heels that clicked purposefully against the floor. I bit my lip, trying to play it cool as she handed me my first assignment. "This is important," she said with an intensity that made my palms sweaty. I nodded, heart pounding. I was about to dive into the whirlwind of the fashion industry, and that moment felt electric, but the atmosphere shifted when I entered the wardrobe room. It was like stepping into a dream. Racks of clothing hung meticulously. Gold dresses glimmered. Shoes with impossible heels beckoned. As I marveled at the fabrics, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. A strange silence loomed. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of a shimmering skirt. My fingers reached out, drawn to its richness. Suddenly, I heard a loud crash. My heart stopped. I turned to see a pile of silk collapsing around me. An entire rack had fallen. Panic rose in my chest. What have I done? Then I heard whispers. Did you hear? That's Mary's outfit for the gala. She'll kill someone for that. My breath quickened. The ominous weight of those words pressed down on my shoulders. Suddenly, the air felt heavy, almost electric, as if chaos was tearing through the elegance of the room. Marie stormed in just as I was trying to lift the wreckage. Her eyes widened, fury radiating from her. What happened? Her voice sliced through the tense silence. I opened my mouth to explain, but no words came out. I could feel the heat in my cheeks, shame, fear, embarrassment all crashing over me like a tsunami. The people around us gasped, their reactions mingled with disbelief and judgment. I was the intern. I was supposed to help, not destroy. I felt their eyes pierce through me, scrutinizing every pulse of my trembling hands. Then came a voice from the back, an unexpected one. Wait. It's not her fault. A figure emerged from the shadows. Tall, with a calm demeanor. It was Jonathan, the millionaire himself, and had just walked in. He surveyed the scene, eyebrows raised. His expression didn't reveal whether he was amused or annoyed. Let's take a step back. Mistakes happen. I felt a glimmer of relief. For a moment. Before Mary's eyes shot daggers at me. And then, just like that, the moment shifted again. Jonathan turned to me. A strange look crossed his face, as if he recognized me from somewhere. My heart raced again. What could this mean? As silence filled the room, I clutched onto that fleeting moment of hope, my mind spinning with questions. Would I still have a job? Had I ruined everything? Or was this just the beginning of something wild, something unexpected? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tension in the air was thick, like the heavy fabric of the gowns surrounding us. I stood frozen, a deer caught in headlights, my mind racing as I locked eyes with Jonathan. The chaos around me blurred into whispers and murmurs as time seemed to slow down. Mary's glare burned into my skin, but Jonathan's presence brought a sense of calm that was almost surreal. Let's not make this worse than it already is, Jonathan said, his voice steady and soothing. Mistakes happen, especially on the first day. I could see a flicker of compassion in his eyes, and it momentarily lifted some of the weight off my chest. Still, I was swallowed in waves of humiliation. Marie stepped back, her expression a mixture of disbelief and fury. "You're defending her?" She spat, crossing her arms defensively. "This was an expensive gown, Jonathan. This isn't just a fluke, it's negligence." A knot tightened in my stomach as my emotions began to swell again: fear, shame, the urge to flee from the disaster I had caused. Everyone watched me, and I could practically hear their silent judgments echoing around the room, an intern screwing things up on her first day. I wanted to explain myself, to articulate the frantic confusion that gripped me, but the words felt like sharp thorns in my throat. Jonathan sighed, his brow furrowing slightly as he turned back to me. "What's your name?" "Lila," I managed to whisper, unable to meet his gaze. "Lila," he repeated softly, as if tasting the name. "Listen, the best way to handle a mistake is to learn from it. I appreciate that you're trying to help here. Mistakes happen, but how we respond to them matters more." At that moment, I felt something shift within me, a flicker of resilience igniting in the ashes of my humiliation. I could make this right, somehow. Marie huffed, turning on her heel and storming out of the room, her heels echoing angrily against the polished floor. The other staff began to disperse, leaving me standing there, a lump of tension and fear. Jonathan remained, watching the scene unfold. "I'm sorry about Marie," he said gently, still regarding me with unexpected warmth. "She's under pressure. This event means everything for her career, and she's passionate about it. But I see potential in you, Lila." "You don't even know me," I replied, despair creeping into my voice. He smiled, the corners of his mouth lifting in a way that seemed to illuminate the room. "But I want to. You're here for a reason, and I believe you can rise above this." His words resonated with a quiet power, a beacon of hope that spread through me like a bomb. I couldn't help but feel that, perhaps, this was just a tumble on the path to something greater, but my heart still thudded with uncertainty. "What if I can't fix this?" I asked, my voice wavering. Jonathan straightened up, his expression shifting to one of determination. "What if you can? Confront the challenge. It'll help. We all need a little kindness and second chances." Encouraged, I nodded, inhaling deep breaths to steady my racing pulse. Just as I was about to express my gratitude, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket, breaking the moment. Pulling it out, I was greeted with a notification that sent ice through my veins: an email from my university, detailing the withdrawal of my internship funding due to unacceptable behavior. My heart dropped. "That's not good," Jonathan observed, shoulders tense as he leaned closer. "This isn't just a job for me," I said, feeling the weight of desperation claw at my throat. "It's my chance to pay for tuition. If I don't get this sorted, I can't afford to go to school anymore." A silence fell heavily between us, my words hanging in the air like the damage I had caused just moments before. I swallowed hard, tears threatening to spill the dam I had built around my emotions. "That I wish I could make everything okay," Jonathan said softly, those stormy gray eyes searching mine. "You deserve this opportunity." Just then, a high-pitched laugh cut through the tension as Marie abruptly returned, a smug smile plastered on her face. "Guess who just gave me a call? Our sponsors are threatening to pull out. Because of the unfortunate incident. We'll have to replace that dress." Her eyes darted to me, relishing my vulnerability. "And it all falls on your shoulders, Lila." My heart plummeted. With a simple phrase, the ground beneath me cracked and gave way. Jonathan clenched his jaw, sensing the impending storm. "What do you mean?" "Rebuilding the brand's image is the utmost priority right now," Marie said, dismissing my anguish with a wave of her hand. "It means finding someone to pay for that dress, and if she can't, Lila will be responsible, right?" I felt the walls closing in again, not just from her words but from the weight of an impossible expectation. "Let me handle this," Jonathan said, his voice steady and commanding, like a lifeline thrown into a turbulent ocean. But as he turned to Marie, I caught a flicker in his eyes, pity mixed with something else, something darker that gave me pause. What if I wasn't the only one caught in a web of pressure? As the room spiraled around me, I realized that pushing through this chaotic maze would be my battle, and the stakes were higher than I had anticipated. That I took a shaky breath, determination budding in the uncertainty, my resolve strengthening against all odds. But as I looked back at Jonathan, uncertainty crept back in with the weight of an unforeseen truth hanging in the air. What did that dark look in his eyes really mean? And if Marie really intended to ruin me, was I truly ready for the fight that lay ahead? The air in the room remained tense as Marie's triumphant smirk lingered, haunting me like a ghost that wouldn't let go. I could feel Jonathan's presence at my side, a pillar of strength amid the sudden chaos. But that faint glimmer of hope began to dim, shadowed by the weight of impending doom lurking just outside the edges of my consciousness. "Lila," Jonathan said, drawing my gaze back to him. His grip on my shoulder was firm, grounding me. "Let's figure this out together. Don't lose sight of why you're here." He was steady and unwavering, an anchor in turbulent seas, but how could I, when doubt gnawed at the edges of my resolve? Mary's words felt like boulders on my chest. If I couldn't fix this, I would lose everything I had worked towards, the dreams of a brighter future that felt like they were slipping through my fingers. "That I don't know where to start," I admitted, my voice trembling. It was an admission of vulnerability I had scarcely allowed myself to utter before now. "There's a solution buried somewhere in this mess," Jonathan assured me. "You've got potential, and perhaps a little creativity can turn this around. Look for possibilities. Sometimes it's about thinking outside the box." His unwavering belief in me sparked a small flame of determination. "But what if I fail?" "Failure is not the end, Lila, it's part of learning." He smiled gently, and for a fleeting moment, the pressure felt lighter. With that, a stray thought flared in my mind. I could try to find a similar dress. Maybe we can convince the sponsors of that. It wasn't much, but it was a flicker of hope in an otherwise dimly lit pathway. "That I like that idea," he said, an encouraging nod accompanying his words. "You'll be surprised at. Look for anything that's not just a dress, but a statement. Something that embodies the essence of the brand." Just as I began to feel a pulse of optimism stirring within, Marie interrupted with her razor-sharp tongue. "Spare us the motivational speech, Jonathan. She's already made enough of a fool of herself today." Her voice dripped with disdain, leaving a bitter aftertaste that assaulted my wounded pride. Jonathan glanced at me, an urgent flicker of conviction in his eyes. "Let's go, Lila. We have work to do." We stepped into the hall, the sounds of heels clicking behind us like a haunting reminder of the battlefield that awaited. Yet, as we rounded the corner, Jonathan paused. "You can do this. Trust yourself." I took a deep breath, the warmth of his words wrapping around me like a safety blanket, just long enough to shield me from the chill of doubt creeping back in. With renewed focus, I took a pen and notepad from my bag, jotting down ideas, sketches, and potential boutiques that might hold a dress worthy of Mary's extravagant visions. The adrenaline pumped through my veins as Jonathan accompanied me through the process, sharing creative suggestions while pointing out traits that would appeal to the sponsors. Every step we took seemed to peel away the layers of despair, replacing them with a fragile, budding hope. But with each phone call, with each boutique we approached, a troubling sense began to bubble up within me. Jonathan's words were encouraging, and I felt like I was executing my plan near perfectly. Yet, I was also aware of a deeper hesitation nestled between the lines of my thoughts. Was Marie watching? Was she waiting for me to fail again? After hours of hunting, we finally settled on a boutique that carried a stunning dress worthy of the event. As we stepped inside, a soft chime announced our arrival. The rich scent of jasmine lingered in the air, offering a brief respite from the storm of emotions within me. "Hello there." A chipper sales associate greeted us. Her infectious smile eased some of the tension coiling in my chest. "We're interested in finding something for a high-profile event, something that makes a statement," Jonathan explained, glancing sideways at me for confirmation. I nodded, not trusting my voice anymore, as excitement and anxiety clashed inside me. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again, and I reluctantly pulled it from my pocket. My heartbeat quickened as I read the notification. An image of me, looking bewildered and disheveled, on the store's social media page, captioned with an unflattering headline that mocked my wardrobe blunder. It can't be, I gasped, the realization hitting me like a freight train. This isn't happening, Lila. Jonathan's voice was laced with concern as he leaned toward me, crumpling the note in his hand. What is it? Look, I said, showing him my screen, but dread began to seep through that look in his eyes earlier flickering into place again. The sponsors will see this, I whispered, fear tightening around my chest. No, he said firmly, we can turn this into a narrative of courage. Show them your growth. They love a comeback story, but my heart pounded loudly against my ribcage. They won't see that. They'll just see another intern who ruined everything. Lila, please listen to me, Jonathan urged, his tone becoming serious. You have to rise above this. In the face of this storm, you must be a beacon of resilience. As I tried to process his words, the weight of pressure built around me again, thickening the air I breathed. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare. Then I caught a flash of movement. The door swung open. A figure stepped through, and my breath caught in my throat. It was Marie, flanked by a group of high-impact sponsors. Her smirk told me everything I needed to know. She was here to witness my ultimate demise. I was out of time. My one chance at redemption teetered precariously on the edge of devastation, and as Marie's eyes locked with mine, the last shred of hope I had felt began to fray. The suspense hung heavily above us like a storm cloud, leaving me to wonder, would this be a moment of newfound strength or the dawn of my complete unraveling? The air turned electric as Marie sauntered closer, a tantalizing mixture of mockery and disdain radiating from her. Her entourage whispered among themselves, their excitement palpable as they eagerly awaited the next chapter of the spectacle. I felt as if I were a character in a tragedy, teetering on the edge of a proverbial cliff, awaiting the moment of my inevitable fall. Lila, darling. Mary's voice cut through the murmur of the boutique. What a delightful surprise to see you here. Her eyes flashed with a kind of glee I had only seen in someone who savors the downfall of others. I tried to stand tall, but my knees felt like jelly, threatening to buckle under the weight of her gaze. It's just a little shopping, I managed to croak out, fumbling to keep my composure. Shopping for what exactly? She asked, feigning innocence as she pointed to the phone that still buzzed in my palm, its blaring mockery echoing relentlessly in my mind. The whispers from her entourage grew louder, turning my embarrassment into a performance for their twisted enjoyment. Before I could respond, Jonathan stepped in, a protector in the fray. We're preparing for the gala. Lila has great plans. You'd be surprised at the resilience she's demonstrating today. His voice was steady, but the tension between them was undeniable, stretching like the taut string of a bow. Mary's laughter echoed, a cruel melody that danced around us. Resilience? My, how admirable. I'd say it's a smart move to pick out a new dress, given your recent wardrobe malfunction. Is that dress code for despair? She turned to her companions, who snickered at the cleverness of her cruelty. The sting of her words struck hard, and I felt the blood drain from my face. What was supposed to be my moment of redemption now felt tainted, poisoned by her relentless torment. My confidence wavered like a flickering flame, and I struggled not to let their laughter, once again, extinguish it. Why don't you let me help you, darling? Marie continued, tilting her head, the pretense of concern layered over her delight. I can't bear to see you crash and burn. Wouldn't it be easier to just let me style you? I can turn your public embarrassment into, well, a treasure. But her tone oozed sarcasm. Lila deserves to find her own voice, Jonathan insisted, his hand gripping my shoulder tighter, grounding me once more. She doesn't need your help, Marie. Are you so sure? She shot back, venom lacing her words like poison. Some people just can't cut it in this industry, no matter how many chances they get. A savvy businesswoman knows when to cut her losses. My heart raced as I struggled against the tide of humiliation threatening to pull me under. Would Mary's words define me? Would they silence me when I finally felt like I was finding my path? The cocktail of anger and despair brewed within me, but the flame I clung to with determination sparked by Jonathan's presence flickered defiantly, refusing to die out. Thank you for your offer, Marie, but I'm capable of making my own choices, I found the courage to say, my voice steadier than I felt. I'm not defined by this moment but by how I choose to respond to it. The silence that followed felt deafening, the smug expressions falling momentarily from her entourage's faces. I could see a flicker of surprise mingled with annoyance flaring in Mary's eyes. Perhaps she hadn't anticipated this turn. A small rush of victory surged through me, enough to fan the embers of my confidence, but then Marie shrugged, a quick smirk reclaiming her features. Suit yourself. Just know that this industry loves a pretty face with a story. Too bad your story reads more like a farce. Her words sliced through me once more like a sharp knife, and at that moment, I glimpsed Jonathan's disbelief, his eyes wide with concern. What Jean-Pierre had told me about the world of fashion echoed in my mind. It was merciless, and allies could quickly become foes. Let's not waste any more time here, Jonathan declared, his tone firm as he ushered me deeper into the boutique, away from the cacophony of derision. With each step away from Marie and her clique, I felt an inkling of reprieve in the gentle privacy of the ornate fitting room. Yet, with it came the dramatic realization that I had never truly been alone in my struggles. My body shook with frustration but also gained momentum. The weakness I had felt was not defeat but a stepping stone, a reminder that the path I was on wouldn't be easy but could lead to something worthwhile. As I stepped in front of the mirror, I couldn't help but wonder if I was merely staving off the inevitably a duel with a lingering specter of inadequacy, or was this the beginning of my emergence? I focused on my reflection, imagining the stunning dress I had chosen, picturing how it would mingle with the brilliance around me at the gala, but as I turned to speak to Jonathan, a fresh notification lit up my phone, demanding my attention. My stomach plunged as I read the message, "You can't escape your past, Lila. I'll make sure of it." The sender was anonymous, but the implications were paralyzing. The stakes were higher than I had anticipated, and the battle within and outside of me was far from over. Would the support I had clung to be enough to face this impending storm? Time would tell, but the weight of uncertainty lingered heavily over me, a reminder that redemptive stories come with consequences yet to unfold. The air was thick with unspoken emotions as I stood frozen in front of the mirror, my phone still trembling in my hand. I could feel Jonathan's gaze burning into my back, his concern palpable. The message loomed over me like a dark cloud, eclipsing the fragile glimmers of hope I had just begun to weave into the fabric of my self-worth. Lila. Jonathan finally broke the silence, stepping closer. What's wrong? The question seemed innocuous, yet I felt the weight of the revelation crushing down on me. How could I explain the swirl of anxiety and fear now gripping my heart? I didn't want him to see me so vulnerable, so unable to handle the very life I had chosen. After all, was I not the resilient woman I had tried to portray? Just a message from a friend, I muttered, feigning nonchalance as I tucked the phone away. A lie, sure, but it felt easier than confronting the raw truth. Jonathan tilted his head, a hint of skepticism etched across his brow. You know you can talk to me, right? I mean it, Lila. I nodded, even as a part of me wrestled with the thought of burdening him with my chaos. He had already stepped into the fray for me, asking for more felt like a betrayal of his kindness. Before I could speak, though, he leaned closer and chose a garment from the rack, a vibrant red dress that shimmered under the boutique lights. What about this one? He suggested, holding it up to my frame. It matches the fire inside you. You've got this spark. A flicker of warmth spread through me at his words. There was something inexplicably comforting about Jonathan's unwavering support. You really think so? I asked, the doubt creeping back into my voice. Absolutely. This gala isn't just about the clothes, it's about showcasing who you've become. Don't let Marie drown that out, he replied. For a fleeting moment, I wanted to believe him, to let his faith bolster my OWN. As I slipped into the dress, I felt an exhilarating rush, like the confidence I'd lost was rising once again, buoyed by the support of a true friend. The rich fabric hugged my curves, embracing me in a way that felt empowering. I spun in front of the mirror, laughter bubbling up at the sight of myself. This was a Lila filled with vigor, a Lila who could stand proud. See? Jonathan smiled, genuine delight lining his features. You look remarkable. Just like I knew you would. But the delight was a delicate mask covering the gnawing apprehension within me. The message had shattered my moment of bliss, a reminder that the past I was trying to escape was still lurking in the shadows, threatening erosion of everything I dared to create. What if I can't keep this up? I whispered, and I hated the quiver in my voice. You will, he insisted, stepping closer, his expression earnest. You're stronger than you think. And whatever comes your way, well, face it together. In that moment, his words ignited a warmth that spread through my chest, pushing against the cold grip of fear. But before I could respond, a sudden stream of laughter erupted from outside the fitting room, drawing my attention back to the chaos of the boutique. My pulse quickened as I recognized the voice that rang out among the playful jeers. It was Marie. Let's see what other fashion disasters we can uncover, she declared, stalking toward us with her entourage in tow. The door was closed, but her presence felt suffocating, an intrusion that threatened to spoil the little sanctuary I had created with Jonathan. That we need to get out of here, I murmured, urgency seeping into my words. My heartbeat raced as I thought about facing her again, the disapproving glances of her entourage cutting through any remaining confidence I had gained. Let's just take a deep breath, he urged gently but firmly. You can handle this. Just remember who you are, Lila. Lean into it. The steadiness in his voice steadied me as well, a lifeline to hold on to in the rising tide. With Jonathan beside me, I opened the door and stepped out, forcing myself to stand tall as I faced Marie. Her gaze flickered over me, her expression shifting from surprise to malicious amusement. Well, if it isn't our very own phoenix rising from the ashes, she quipped, smirking as her entourage snickered behind her. Are you planning to soar or just flit around the room aimlessly? A rush of indignation surged through me. Did I even care what she thought? But the earlier message rang in my mind, chilling my confidence. Jonathan sidled closer, the warmth of his presence a shield against the storm. Lila, you are not her punchline. Don't let her words erase your victory, he whispered, and I felt a spark of resolve ignite within me. I took a breath, steadied myself, and squared my shoulders. What matters is not what you think, Marie, but how I choose to define myself, I said, my voice gaining strength with each word. You can mock me all you want, but it's not your opinion that will dictate my journey. Brave words, darling, she retorted, raising an eyebrow. Let's see if you can keep up that bravado on the big night. As she walked away, her voice trailed off, yet it dug at the most vulnerable parts of my spirit. I could feel Jonathan's presence beside me, unwavering, a beacon of strength. I can't go back to that dark place, I confessed quietly, the fear creeping back as I glanced at my phone once more. Well, then don't, Jonathan said, his voice sincere. You've come too far. Whatever is lurking there will just be another challenge you can face together with those who truly care about you, but the words only served to deepen the ache of uncertainty. The message remained an uninvited guest on my mind, and as I stepped forward into the tumult of the boutique, edged with smiles and dismissive laughter, a ghost from my past hung heavily over me. What did they want from me, and would I survive whatever storm was brewing, Lila? A voice exploded from behind me. My heart dropped as I turned, the sharpness of déjà vu flooding through me. The eyes staring back were those I had thought to have buried deep in my past. I didn't forget you, the figure stated, a haunting smirk curling at the corners of their lips. Seems you've been having a rough time. But don't worry, I'm here to remind you where you truly belong. A chill spread through me, spiraling toward horrifying revelations as the weight of the world threatened to tip me over the edge once more. What was the true cost of my rise? That was a question I had yet to answer, but the answer loomed ever closer. The boutique air thickened with suspense, and my heart raced as I stood frozen, the familiar voice echoing through my mind like a haunting refrain. I had laughed off the threats of my past as mere echoes, fleeting reminders that could betray my peace, yet here they were again, clawing their way back into my reality with sinister confidence. Who are you? I stammered, eyes locked onto the stranger's smirk that dripped with malice. Beneath the flashy lights, their presence felt like cold steel, slicing through the warmth Jonathan had bestowed upon me just moments before. "Oh, Lila," they taunted, stepping closer. "You really don't recognize me? I'm hurt. All those years spent together, and now you act as if I'm a ghost." A crackle of laughter escaped their lips, unsettling everyone left in the boutique's colorful sanctuary. Jonathan's hand found mine, his grip both steady and reassuring, yet an eerie disquiet began to churn within me. What did this person seek? Were they there to ruin what little had been rebuilt inside me? I could almost feel Mary's mocking laughter returning, a rhythm of anxiety pulsing through the air. "Did I need you to leave?" I managed to say, my voice stronger than I felt. "This is my life now." I tightened my grip around Jonathan's warm fingers, grounding myself in the strength he radiated, but the figure merely stepped closer, a chilling calmness enveloping them as they spoke. "Your life is a joke to those who matter. Do you think you can escapito pretend you don't belong?" They leaned in, their breath sending shivers down my spine. "You will always be the girl who couldn't handle the chaos running beneath her skin, and I'm here to remind you." The world began to swirl, colors blending into shadows as panic spiraled in my chest. I thought I had silenced these demons, that I had crafted a sanctuary from their harsh truths, yet they clawed and scraped at the edges of my newfound bliss. I shifted, desperately scanning the faces in the boutique, searching for the flickers of solidarity amidst the widening chaos. "I've built something here," I said defiantly, leaning into Jonathan's persistent warmth. "I have friends, a future. Your opinion holds no weight." Each word felt like an anchor, plunging deeper into the trust forming around me. The figure's expression twisted into a seductive smile, one that promised disruption. "Friends? This future you're hoping for is nothing more than an elaborate costume to hide the real you. You're a chameleon in borrowed colors, and the truth always finds a way to seep back through." "Enough." Jonathan's voice cut through like a sudden gale, interrupting their venomous challenge. Moving protectively in front of me, his eyes blazed with indignation. "Lila is not what you say she is. She is brave, strong, and transforming every day, and you're merely a shadow of her past. Leave her alone." The figure paused, caught off guard by Jonathan's fierce defense. I could feel his unwavering belief in me resonating like a warm glow, flooding the cracks the past had created. It was as if, in that moment, he was sculpting the pieces of my faltering identity into something fresh, something worthy, but darkness had a way of lingering, and the figure, rattled but not defeated, straightened. "Fine. Play your little games. Just remember," they hissed, sweeping an arm toward the boutique like it was a stage set for my downfall, "the truth is relentless. Illusions won't protect you when the curtain falls." With that, they turned sharply and stalked away, leaving a silence that seemed to weave tighter around us. My breaths were shallow, the reminder of their words echoing in my mind, swirling like storm clouds threatening to burst at any moment. Jonathan slowly turned towards me, concern etched across his features. "Lila, are you okay?" His voice was a soft balm, easing the edges of the tempest within. I don't know," I admitted, the familiar feeling of insecurity wrapping around me like vines. "What if they're right? What if this is all just a facade waiting to collapse?" Jonathan's gaze softened, and the tumult around me faded slightly as we focused on each other. "No matter what they say, or what you might feel about your past, don't ever forget how far you've come. You are stronger than those doubts." Just as I began to absorb his reassurances, my phone vibrated violently in my pocket, tearing my attention away. My heart thudded loudly as I hesitated to check the notifications, a sense of dread creeping in. "You should see this," I muttered, taking out the phone and glancing at the screen. My pulse quickened when I noticed that there were multiple messages each bearing the same name, a name I thought I would never have to see again. "Lila, is everything all right?" Jonathan asked, leaning closer as I breathed in slow, shaky breaths. It's from Mark," I whispered, each syllable heavy with unspoken history. "What?" Jonathan's face fell, confusion swirling in his eyes. "Why would he contact you?" Before I could respond, a notification blinked urgently at the top of the screen. "Lila, we need to talk." "I know about the gala," and am coming for you." Shock coursed through me, inescapable and electrifying. This was not just a shadow from the past but a reckoning, a confrontation that would thrust me into the eye of the storm waiting to collide with my fragile existence. As fear coursed through me, the tension hung palpably, threatening to pull me under once more. I glanced up at Jonathan, whose eyes reflected an understanding that went beyond words. "What should I do?" I whispered, feeling small and scared, a child once more standing on a precipice. "That," he said, determination rising like flames within him. "We face it together. You're not alone, Lila. Not now." But even as he spoke, the darkness loomed ahead, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of my trials. My rise had only just begun, and the truth would be relentless. The morning sun filtered through the windows, casting golden flecks of light against the sterile white walls of the office. My heart raced as I stepped into the sleek corporate environment, the echo of my footsteps swallowed by a sea of polished floors and hushed conversations. I was ready to leave behind the chaos of yesterday, believing that a fresh start awaited me at this renowned fashion house sanctum couture, yet, every step I took onto that threadbare carpet felt like treading onto a stage set for a performance I wasn't ready to deliver. As I skimmed the place, a suffocating veil of self-doubt began to tug at the edges of my resolve. Each glance exchanged between the impeccably dressed employees reminded me of the polished armor. I could never quite piece together the facade I had been trying to cultivate since that haunting encounter with my past. "Lila, dear. Welcome." A warm, saccharine voice cut through the tension as Amelia, the ever-energetic head designer, approached me. Her brightly colored outfit was a stark contrast to the navy and black uniforms around her, a ray of sunshine that momentarily illuminated the gloom hanging over my heart. "We're so glad to have you on board." "Thank you, Amelia." "I'm excited," I replied, my enthusiasm faltering as I noticed a group of interns nearby exchanging whispers. Their gazes prickled against my skin like needles, and I turned away, forcing a smile despite the growing unease that settled in the pit of my stomach. The day progressed, filled with sketches and pattern-making, and for the briefest moments, the weight of my past faded into the background, replaced by the thrill of creativity. I began to find solace in working with fabrics, the texture and color woven through my fingers as I stapled and clipped away. But just as I felt a semblance of peace, the spell broke. A shriek echoed across the room, causing me to jump. "Oh no! The dress is ruined. Someone help." One of the interns rushed past me as panic surged through the air like an electric current. Curiosity pulled me toward the source of the commotion, but with each step, I hesitated. There, in a corner, stood a luxurious gown against a backdrop of color and fabric, a beacon of glamour. Yet, the sight was marred by espresso stains, marking the fabric like blunders of fate. "Who did this?" Amelia's voice rose, sharp with disappointment, the scrutiny laden across her face as she surveyed the chaos. "We have an important gala coming up in just a few days." My pulse quickened again, and I realized with dread that the collective eyes were fixed on me, the newcomer. Hadn't I just tasted the sweetness of acceptance? Now, the taste soured as previous experiences swelled within me, reminding me of how quickly things could spiral out of control. I stammered, surging forward to explain when the weight of rejection settled in beside me. "I was just Lila." "No. Not you," shouted a voice from the other side of the room. It was Jonathan, appearing like a guardian angel, navigating through the thrumming crowd toward me. "You weren't even in the vicinity, but everyone is looking," I whispered, my breath catching as my heart raced. The sting of judgment loomed like a fog. "Let them look," he declared with unexpected ferocity. "You're not the one who caused the mess, right? So don't accept what isn't yours to carry." His words hung in the air, swirling around with a sense of camaraderie I hadn't expected. I wasn't alone. Jonathan's belief in me rippled against the anxiety that threatened to drown me. But the momentary uplift shattered when Amelia turned toward us, irritation etched across her features. "This isn't a place for debate, Jonathan. We need solutions, not distractions," she seethed before turning her focus sharply back to the ruined dress. "We're already behind on the deadline." As she waved her arms to rally the other interns to clean up, the moment of connection faded like a wisp of smoke, and I felt the despair creeping back in. "Lila, I'll help you." Jonathan stepped closer, eyes shining with determination. "If we think creatively, we can salvage this." Together, fueled by the flicker of hope ignited by Jonathan's confidence, I nodded, ready to plunge into the mess. However, as we began discussing ideas for repair, my phone buzzed relentlessly in my pocket once more, this time a single notification that turned my pulse cold. "Lila, are you here? I'm outside. We need to talk about what you're hiding." The message was inscribed from Mark once more, sharp and insistent. My heart sank, panic flickering to life within me. "What's wrong?" Jonathan didn't miss a beat, noticing the shift in my demeanor. I swallowed hard, trying to recover my voice. "It's Mark again," I admitted, fear pooling in my stomach. "He's here. He wants to talk." Jonathan's hand twitched toward mine, a silent gesture of solidarity, but the tension in my chest tightened. What if Mark had come to drag me back? To expose my fragile state and unravel everything I had just begun to build? I can't go back there," I whispered, my voice breaking slightly, the ghosts of my past ready to swallow me whole once more. "I won't let you face this alone, Lila," Jonathan declared resolutely, his presence standing sentinel against the tempest about to engulf us. "We'll face him together." But even as a part of me craved that bravery, the growing chaos of the internal and external conflict gnawed at me. What awaited just outside those doors? Would the fabric of my new reality tear apart at the seams once more, revealing a past ID buried so lovingly? As I took a deep breath, dread closing in like a vice, a single thought echoed relentlessly: this was not over. The drama, the turmoil, and the confrontation with my truth loomed ever closer. I was still standing in the eye of my storm, and I wasn't sure if I could weather it. The subsequent moments bled into one another as I stood there, frozen at the crossroads of my anxiety and the unknown. Anxiety was a familiar cloak, one I had worn for so long that it felt stitched into my very being. And yet, Jonathan's unwavering presence next to me radiated a warmth that felt like an unexpected refuge. "Let's go outside, then," he suggested, his voice low and steady. "You don't have to do this alone." As we approached the exit, the vibrant energy of the office attempted to pull me back, the conversations, the laughter, the chaos of creativity. Yet, all I could hear was my heart thundering against my ribcage, drowning out the raucous world around me. Taking a deep breath, we stepped through the glass doors and into the blinding light of day. The contrast was overwhelming. The air felt charged not just with sunshine, but with the weight of unspoken words and the thrill of uncertainty that clung thickly between us. Mark stood waiting just beyond the entrance, arms crossed and jaw taut, an intimidating silhouette against the backdrop of the urban landscape. The sight of him sent icy tendrils of dread creeping through my veins. "Lila," he began, his tone clipped. There was an urgency in his voice that sent alarm bells ringing inside my head. "We really need to talk." "Yeah, I can see that," I replied, forcing brave words past the lump in my throat, my gaze flickering nervously between him and Jonathan. The doubt began to bubble to the surface, a reminder of why I had sought refuge in this career path in the first place. Before I could say more, Jonathan stepped forward, his posture protective. "You're talking to her in a professional capacity now, Mark. So let's keep this respectful." The tension between them crackled like electricity, the air thickening with unexpressed emotions. I wasn't sure what I expected, I only knew that my heart continued to race, caught between the past haunting me and the glimmer of a future I was still trying to grasp. "Listen, this is about us," Mark insisted, trying to nudge past Jonathan's protective stance. "You can't just pretend I don't exist. You need to face what you've left behind." His words were piercing, each syllable weighing heavy with regrets and accusations. As I inhaled sharply, I felt the fresh air turning stale in my lungs. "I'm not pretending, Mark," I shot back, emboldened by the unexpected alliance at my side. "I'm just trying to move on." "What do you want from me?" "Closure. Understanding. You can't just walk away from everything like it never happened, he pressed, desperation slipping through his tone. I flinched at his assertion, the past looming behind me like a shadow stretching farther than I ever wanted it to. But would I let it? In that moment, I glimpsed the young woman I had been, the one who had been strong, artistic, and free. Could I reclaim her if I faced Mark? Or would doing so pull me back into the depths of that darkness? Jonathan's fingers brushed against mine, grounding me with a simple gesture, and I lingered in that moment. There was warmth there, a flicker of warmth amidst the encroaching coldness of my fears. That I am not here to revisit old wounds, I breathed, feeling the tremor of vulnerability seep through my words. I'm trying to create something new. Something better. Mark shifted uncomfortably, the rawness of my candidness catching him off guard. I know you are, Lila, but you have to remember what happened back then. It shapes who we are. You can't just ignore it. His plea struck a chord deep within me, igniting a battle I had tried to bury. Memories rushed back, dark moments that chipped away at my spirit and pushed me away from the very woman I once aspired to be. What if I don't want to be that person anymore? I heard myself say, the words tumbling out as a quiet war within raged on. What if I want to create a new story? Jonathan tightened his hold, the grounding power of his presence shielding me from the storm. Just then, I felt the vibrancy of life swirl around us, the distant sounds of laughter and joy echoing from inside the office, but here, the air felt heavy like thunder. Before a downpour, Mark met my gaze, blue eyes searching for clarity, for understanding. You can't run from the truth, Lila. Not forever. If you don't confront it, it will always be there. As I stood there, caught between my past and my future, realization swept over me like a tidal wave. Mark might be right, the truth had a way of catching up with you, a lingering ghost that held a mirror to your soul. But just as I was ready to confront the implications of that truth, a sharp drumming sound broke the moment, a sudden downpour originating from the gray clouds that had gathered unexpectedly above us. It swiftly drenched the pavement and sent people scurrying for cover. Lila, let's go inside, Jonathan urged softly against the tableau of swirling rain. But I hesitated, a sudden surge of disbelief striking through me as Mark stepped forward, unyielding. I came here for you. I'm not going anywhere until you hear me out. His voice rose above the chaos of the storm, but then it faltered as he caught sight of my expression, the unintended facade of resistance and hope intertwined. With that, I realized that my journey was no longer just about crafting a new future or confronting my past, it was also about how I chose to reconcile the two. And standing here, amidst a sudden rainstorm with Jonathan by my side, I felt the urgency to either confront or retreat play out with every heartbeat. Mark's eyes searched for something they could cling to, but the encroaching storm seemed to mirror the tempest inside me. As I strained to make a decision, the vibration of Jonathan's hand against mine sent a shiver of warmth that threatened to dissolve my hesitations. Lila, Jonathan whispered, and it was that single name, spoken with an undercurrent of belief, that sent a ripple through my heart. But before I could respond, a figure caught my attention through the veil of rain, a striking presence emerging from the shelter of the office doors, and in that fleeting instant, I felt a jolt of recognition that shredded everything I had just begun to resolve. Libby. My once best friend, standing there as if she had emerged from a bygone era. The confusion in my heart exploded, intertwining with fear, uncertainty, and the undeniable fact that nothing could ever remain buried for long. Would this encounter redefine everything I was trying to build? My world suddenly felt smaller, like a carefully constructed house of cards, swaying dangerously on the brink of collapse. The storm was just beginning, and I wasn't sure which direction to turn. The rain hammered down, each droplet hitting the ground like a drum of fate. In the cacophony of water and bewilderment, the sight of Libby, my one-time confidant, standing drenched and bewildered, shattered the fragile equilibrium I had managed to create. All my carefully cultivated defenses felt like they were being ripped apart thread by thread. Libby? My voice was barely above a whisper, the sound swallowed by the storm. The air charged with unspoken history weighed heavily between us, ancient fissures that had never truly healed. She stepped forward, her face a kaleidoscope of emotions: shock, hesitation, anger, and maybe even a trace of regret. "Lila," she breathed, and just like that, the name hung in the air, heavy with nostalgia, particularly over the tumultuous backdrop of our past friendship. "What are you doing here?" I stammered, a mix of anxiety and longing swelling within me. The storms in my heart mirrored the one outside, swirling chaos rising to the surface. "That I came to see how you're doing. I heard about the project," she replied, her voice trembling slightly, unsure but steady, calling back memories of late-night talks and dreams shared beneath the glow of fairy lights. "I didn't expect anyone to be here." "Yeah, neither did I interrupted, half laughing, half sobbing, the rain framing my face like a torrent of unresolved feelings. Jonathan, who had been an anchor, seemed more like a figure in a gallery painting. As my focus shifted to Libby, the gallery of my past opened right in front of me. I didn't know if you wanted to talk," she continued. "I wanted to apologize for how things ended between us." Her admission weighed heavily in the air, and before I could respond, Mark's voice broke in, filled with the telltale urgency I had come to dread. "Lila, this isn't the time, isn't it?" The sharpness in my voice surprised even me. "All these years, I've been running, trying to figure things out on my own, cutting people off because it felt safer. But here you are, Libby, and maybe I need to address everything that's been lurking in the shadows." Libby flinched at the sting of my words, and a flicker of hurt crossed her face. "I didn't come here to hurt you, Lila. I came because I was worried, despite everything that happened. You were my best friend." The honesty of her statement tightened the knot in my chest, and a swell of emotions threatened to consume me. "You disappeared, Libby. You left me at my worst when I needed you most. I thought our friendship meant something more than what you showed." Each word felt like a penance, the long-suppressed anger that burst forth as a reminder of how vulnerable one could feel, folding like origami only to be ripped apart in the face of betrayal. "I know, and I'm sorry. I let my fears control me. I was scared of you spiraling deeper, and I didn't know how to help," she admitted, her voice cracking. "But you didn't give me a chance to show you that I cared. I scoffed. You call that caring? Because it felt like abandonment to me. I thought you were my sister." It hurt to say it, and yet the truth lingered like a moth trapped in a light, fluttering, desperate, begging for release. The downpour intensified, blurring the line between the past and present, bringing to life fragments of conversations I had long buried. A glimmer of forgiveness flickered and then dimmed under the weight of unresolved fury. I caught a fleeting glimpse of the way our old friendship had once felt, warm and buoyant, before the drowning darkness. "That I don't know if I'm ready for this," I said, my voice tremulous. "But maybe I want to understand why it happened, why we didn't try harder." Jonathan moved slightly, a silent pillar next to me, providing an anchor as I sat on the edge of shifting emotions. But even his presence felt minuscule faced with the storm of my internal turmoil. Mark stepped forward again, cementing the triangle of vulnerability before me. "Lila, while you're sorting through this, don't forget about where you are going. You can't lose sight of your future with everything that's been thrown at you." My head spun as I processed their words, Libby reaching out, Mark reminding me of my ambition. Jonathan's hand tightened around mine, warmth spreading through my skin like a balm, easing but not burying the tempest. "That I want to hear you, Libby," I finally admitted. "But it's going to take time. I have to figure out my own storms first." She nodded, tears mingling with the rain on her cheeks. "I'll wait, Lila. I promise." Just then, just as the clouds opened up to unleash another torrent upon us, the sky lit up with a blinding flash of lightning, illuminating the world around us for a heartbeat. And in that moment, something shifted. A siren blared in the distance, a jarring sound juxtaposed against the soft whispers of rain. It pulled me from Libby's gaze to the noise creeping closer, reminding me of life's chaos. The crackle in the air felt prophetic and heavy, as if foretelling that the past storm wasn't done yet. Just as I was about to shake off the lingering shadows of doubt, the ground beneath us shifted slightly. A startled scream pierced the damp air, and, out of nowhere, a figure staggered and fell, a hooded stranger, completely soaked, collapsing just a few feet away. My breath caught in my throat, and I exchanged frantic glances with Jonathan and Mark. Libby rose instinctively to help, but I stood glued to the spot, heart surging with a mix of fear and dread. Who was this person? Had the weight of an unresolved past finally caught up to me, wrapping its tendrils around my very existence? The rain continued to fall, and as the storm enveloped us once more, a new layer of uncertainty wrapped around my heart. It was clear that my journey had taken a tumultuous turn, leading me toward new challenges shaped by the ghosts of old choices shaping everything I had come to understand, and maybe even redefining how I would confront both the past and the future. As I stood there, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on my chest, I scanned the scene before me, collective breaths of my past, present, and future colliding into one chaotic swirl. The hooded figure on the ground groaned, stirring in the pouring rain, and a rush of adrenaline surged through me. Was this person a messenger, a harbinger, or simply an innocent caught in the storm? The questions clawed at the edges of my consciousness, stoking the bonfire of my anxiety. Stay back. I called out instinctively, uncertainty and fear clawing at my throat. Libby, hovering nearby, bristled beside me but seemed unable to take the next step. Mark readied himself to spring into action, while Jonathan's hand squeezed mine tighter, steadying my trembling nerves. The rain lashed against our skin like a sharp rebuke, and the figure finally pushed themselves up, revealing a pair of glimmering eyes shimmering with distress. Their head hung low, soaked hair casting shadows across their features, but there was something strikingly familiar about them, like a fragment of a long-lost recollection surfacing out of murky waters. "Please, help me," the figure croaked, voice cracking like the thunder rumbling overhead. It was more than just a plea, it held desperation that resonated in my core like a haunting melody carried on the wind. "That I knew that voice, Evan," I whispered, the reality crashing down like the pounding rain. He had been my first love, the boy whose laughter echoed in the crevices of my memory. The boy who had been smothered by secrets and shadows I had tried so hard to forget. His eyes met mine, pleading, as the storm raged around us, chaos swirling into the dawning realization that this was not just an unexpected encounter but a reckoning with everything I thought I had left behind. "I didn't know where else to go," he murmured, pain lacing his words. The vulnerability in his tone chipped away at the walls I had built around myself. "He's back," Mark noted bitterly, his irritation bubbling to the surface as emotions ran high and stakes threatened to spiral yet again. But I could feel Jonathan's grip tighten around my fingers, a shield against the multitude of doubts swirling around in my head. "What do you want, Evan?" I demanded, guilt mixing with confusion, but underneath it all, a spark of something I thought I had buried, a flicker of concern for the boy who knew me better than anyone had. Just before I had let him slip away, "That I came to explain," he breathed, his gaze shifting to the ground, shame flooding his posture. "To apologize, to try and make things right." That as pain lodged deep in my throat, I mulled over his voice, fragile, trembling with regret. The downpour picked up intensity, drowning the world around us in its frigid embrace, but I remained focused solely on him. My instinct screamed at me to walk away. To leave whatever remnants of our past behind. Yet something else pulled me, anchoring me to the present, the empathy exceeding the hurt we had once shared. "That we were once friends, Evan," I said softly, forcing each syllable to break free from the weight in the air. "You turned your back on me when I needed you. Why should I trust you now?" I messed up. "I know. I've spent countless nights replaying everything in my head, and I see how I abandoned you. After everything that happened, I was scared," he managed, his voice raw as our shared history slicked our skin with the past. "I didn't know how to confront what we had anymore, it terrified me. And I thought if I ran, I could run from it all. And from myself." Evan's confession struck something deep within, reminiscent shadows that mirrored my own fears of failure and inadequacy. "I wanted to reach out, but I didn't know how," he continued, voice rising above the clapping rain. "But now, I have this darkness in me I can't shake. I need to tell you I'm sorry." The honesty in his gaze scattered my resolve, and in that moment, I could see all the fractured pieces of our shared history laid bare. Was this the closure I needed? "How can I believe you now?" I asked, tears merging with the raindrops cascading down my cheeks, the weight of history pressing down on my shoulders. "Can words fix everything we broke?" The vulnerability stung, and yet, there was an unexpected stirring of hope, a resonance of reclamation. "Not just words, he pressed, stepping forward despite the downpour. Action. I've been trying to change. To seek help for everything I've struggled with. And I thought maybe reaching out to you would be the first step. The sincerity settled in the air, a tapestry woven from threads of the past stretching between two souls desperately seeking redemption. You think I'm just going to forgive you like that? That'll just forget the pain. I don't know if I can, I said, hesitation wrapping around my chest like a vice. Then don't forget it. Learn from it, Evan replied, the intensity and determination sparking in his gaze. I might not deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know that every day I'm working to be better. I want you to find your truth, too. In that moment, as thunder roared overhead, I felt every memory of our past collide with what lay before Meth's decision to heal, to embrace the painful journey toward understanding, even if it was painful. What's it going to take for you to be ready? I asked, shattered yet hopeful, words trembling like the storm around us. Just give me the chance to show you, Evan implored softly, the sincerity in his eyes pulling the frayed threads of my heart toward a potential patchwork of reconciliation. The chaotic turmoil flooded my thoughts. I was realizing that healing was not merely about burying the past but confronting it with honesty. I turned to Jonathan, who was watching silently, his expression steady, multifaceted understanding sparking in his eyes, the warmth of his daily companionship anchoring my uncertain heart. Well, take it slow, I said finally, stepping forward, each word laced with cautious hope. But if this is going to work, I need to take apart the structures of what we built on unresolved pain. As I spoke, I beseeched the heavens for guidance, whatever it takes, Evan reiterated fervently, with Evan standing before me, offering a simple promise drenched in rain, a chance for healing I would have never dared to dream of. I could feel a glimmering thread of renewal weaving through broken pieces, slowly mending what had once felt irreparable. The rain began to lighten and, beyond the tumult, a faint shimmer of sunlight broke through the clouds. I clutched onto Jonathan's hand, grounding myself amidst the change as I faced my past head-on. And perhaps, just perhaps, I could embrace my future too, one where forgiveness was a valid path. We walked together. As calm settled around us, the sound of laughter seeped through the air, glistening on my skin like droplets washed clean by the rain. I had a choice. I could step into the light of my truth, illuminate the shadows, and create a story rich in authenticity, a journey deepened in understanding. No more running. No more hiding. The world felt expansive, fresh beginnings sparking amid the remnants of yesterday's storm as I took a bold step forward, knowing with each passing day we would continue to weave and reclaim what we set out to find, joy. I turned to Jonathan, catching his eyes filled with warm reassurance that flickered like embers dancing in the breeze. Let's write our story, I whispered, strength threading through every word, resonating deep in my soul. I realized that while the past may haunt, the future sparkles with promises yet to unfold. And with that, I felt renewed conviction surge within me, because rebuilding is an act of courage. Emerging from storms is a testament to our strength. And sometimes, forgiving others is merely a step toward forgiving ourselves, and in the eye of the storm, clarity emerged, leaving me deeply moved by the journey.